I official?
Yeah, should be.
Hello.
You are official.
I always laugh whenever they ask me to do stuff like this, because I'm like, I am really not qualified for this. Like, she asked me for a bio. I'm like, I don't know. I got a bunch of kids, and I follow them everywhere. I don't know. Like, I don't really have a bio. But I do teach at South Terrebonne, and I was involved with youth ministry here for a long, long time, and still am. And so every once in a while, they send me a text or call and say, hey, can you come by and talk? And I'm like, sure. And then Miss Mona said, I'm like, oh, but I don't talk to adults. I don't talk to adults. I talk to little people or young adults, because I don't know how to talk to adults. I still forget that I am the adult. I'm always looking for the adult in the situation. I need someone else to adult. Because this is not really what I do. I do have 3 kids. They are now 9, 7, and 5. And so we have hit the glorious summer age where I can say, go outside. See you in 5 hours. It's wonderful. It's great. But I am a cradle Catholic from right here at St. Anne. And that is something that is really special to me. If you are a parishioner of St. Anne and this is your home, then I am so glad you're here. And if you are not a parishioner of St. Anne, I am so glad to welcome you to our home, because this is a very special place to me. I was baptized here, and some of my very earliest memories are this church just being filled. Christmas Eve Mass is one of my favorite times of year, and it is always just so special to me. And I can remember even when we had really little ones, and my husband was like, do you think it would be easier if we went in the morning? And I'm like, oh no, boo. We're going Christmas Eve night. Like, that's my mass. Because one of my very earliest memories was my whole family, and I come from a big family, and so we would take about the first 4 pews, and we'd all sit together. And I remember my aunt kind of like holding me during the consecration and pointing out what was happening and telling me, like, that's Jesus, like, watch, this is the miracle. This is when it happens, watch the miracle. And I was little, I was probably 6 when that happened, and I never forgot it. It was such a powerful moment, just a powerful moment of like, all these people are here and we get to witness a miracle, and this is so cool that I get to come here and do it again on Sunday. And that's one of those things that I've always kept with me. I've been in this church, and you know, we talk about church and we talk about this building, and we know that that's not what church is, right? We know that. We know that church is the people that fill it. We know that church is the Mass and the things that happen that bring us closer to Jesus, and we know that. But I like to talk about the building itself, because this place is very special to me. The family that I have here is very special to me. So when I was really little, I remember that. And then I also remember when I was probably, 10th grade, 15, for my confirmation. I remember sitting here for my confirmation, and me and my friends just sitting here, and it was a really exciting time. There was all these other things that come with confirmation. It was really cool. But then that turned into something else, because that same group of people came back when we were about 19, and a classmate of ours had taken his life. And I remember sitting in church, and it was filled. I mean, he was young, you know, a lot of family and friends here, and this church was filled again. And I remember thinking, gosh, this is just, I can't imagine coming back in this filled church after having this feeling. You know, I mean, that's an awful feeling. And loving it again. It's going to be hard for me to come in this place, this building, and loving it again. But it wasn't. But it wasn't at all. I had this community here. I had this family here. We talk about come to the table. And we came back, and it was rough for a while, but then you get okay. That's what family does. For my wedding, my husband and I stood in the altar, and for communion, you know, you're facing the altar the whole time. And for communion, our priest said, we want you to turn and like just welcome your guests. So we turned. I went, oh my God, there were so many people. There were people standing along the walls. There were people standing in the back. There were people like 30 to a pew, and I was like, this church is filled with all our favorite people. All the people that love us. All the people that just want to be here and love us. And it was the coolest moment of our wedding. I mean, of all the things that happened that day, and what an incredible day that is. That's my favorite memory, is turning around. And it was just overwhelmingly filled. People that I knew hadn't been in a church for a long time, walking up for communion, I'm like, this is a special place for me. Miss May said something that really clicked, and sometimes we just need to hear something that's going to stay with us the rest of our lives. One of the things that I've heard when I was in high school, I went to a student council convention. This was not a religious experience. This was go and learn to be a leader. And someone told a story. Yeah, summer workshop. Somebody told this story, and it stuck with me. And so I was probably 15 or so when this happened, 14, 15. And the story was about, there was a lady that would bring her grandchild with her every week to church. And you may have heard this story. I've seen it circulating on the internet lately. And after church, there was a big dinner in the community center. And so every week they'd go to Mass, and then they'd go to the dinner in the community center, and they'd eat whatever the people had cooked for them that week. And the grandmother would always tell the little girl, save your fork. Dessert is coming. Save your fork for dessert. And so she'd save her fork. And I love dessert. Dessert's my favorite. And so she would save her fork for dessert. Years later, the little girl got sick. She got sick. And it was kind of hitting that point when they knew it's time to start preparing. It's time to start preparing for what's going to be next. And so they asked her, they said, it's up to you. What would make you happy when we have to do funeral plans and all this icky stuff? And she said, they talked about flowers, and they talked about music, and they talked about all these things. And she said, I really want a fork. What do you mean you want a fork? When they bury me, when they put me in the casket, I want to hold a fork. Why do you want to hold a fork? She said, because I know the best is yet to come. I know that the best is yet to come. Wow, right? And I remember him telling me that story, and it was, and for in that instance, it wasn't about religion, it wasn't about faith, but it always stuck with me that it's so true. There's so much more. There's so much more to come. The best is yet to come. I have not had a rough life in any way. I grew up in this precious little family where we all came to church together, and we loved each other, and my parents were just, they're still the cutest thing I've ever seen. And we had a great life. We did, and I still do. But there's still yuck, right? We talked about distractions, and we talked about these things that hold us back. And there's just that yuck. And I remember for my friend's funeral, sitting there and thinking, I'll never be able to come back here. I'll never be able to sit in these pews and love this place again. That was a rough, ugly day. It was a rough, ugly moment. But there were so many better moments to come. We stood up here for our wedding in this filled church. I baptized my 3 babies here. I get to come and bring them to Mass every week and show them that this is family. And the people that would come when they were really little and they would cry and they'd climb all over and it got real hard and I would cry every week. I'd cry every week for Mass for 2 years straight. 2 years I'd cry at the end of Mass, and there was always somebody that would come and go, you doing okay? Keep coming back. Always. Always. I never felt pushed. I never felt like I was in the way. I never felt like I was trouble. I always felt loved. Because that's what this is. We come to the table, right? We come as a family. I was welcome here. It didn't matter. It didn't matter what things were going on. One of the things that I got to be a part of, and I say I get to be a part of because it is such a privilege, is to come pray with our teens for confirmation and to be a part of youth ministry. It is a privilege to watch these people. I know I'm partial to teenagers because I teach high school and I hang out with them all the time, and I forget I'm not one of them. There is so much good to come for this community, for this church, for this world. I think sometimes we see all the really ugly, bad stuff. And it's hard, and we get caught in it, and we're like, it's not going to get better. And then I see, I'm like, oh, yes, it does. Yes, it does. There's some really good stuff coming. in those moments when we feel gross and ugly, and this is awful, and I don't want to feel these feelings no more, and I don't want to be a part of this anymore, God says, you know what? I do. I want it. Give it back. Give it back. He says, I want all the gross. I want you to just come and lay it at my feet. And that was something that was real hard for me for a long time. Because I didn't have big issues. I didn't have these big dramatic stories. I lived a really easy life. But it was the everyday stuff that was pulling me away. It wasn't the big, awful tragedies. It wasn't the, you hear about these things that happen to me, and you're like, I don't know how they go on. It wasn't any of that. It was just the day-to-day distractions. Those day-to-day yuck. And so many times that I stood in this full church and thought, this is it, this is awesome. And how many times I sat in this full church and thought, oh, it's so bad. The constant in all of it was that Jesus was right there waiting. He was there to celebrate our joy. He was there to take our pain. He was there to say, it's okay. You can cry. You can ugly cry. I'm an ugly crier. Anybody an ugly crier? You can ugly cry here, and that's okay. I want your pain. I want you to give it back to me. And that was really special for me. I hope that you realize, I hope that you are able to love being at the table and realizing that it's a constant journey. It gets real ugly, and then sometimes it's really, really cool. I always tell my students, and I always tell my teenagers, that the best is yet to come. Sometimes when we're stuck in those really bad moments, and then we're stuck in the distractions and the chaos, it's really easy to just say, I don't really want this anymore. I don't really want to deal with it. I don't really want to push myself. I don't want to be uncomfortable. I just want to get on by. The best is yet to come. My grandmother was a pillar of this community. She was one of those people that she was here all the time. She was part of everything. She was a decoration committee for a long time. And she used to do the banners for years and years. She made all the banners. And I can remember as a little kid sitting with her while she sewed the banners. And I remember each of them. I remember each one being made. And so this past year, she had been very sick for a long time. And she had passed away. And so it was a hard moment, right? It was just one of those really hard moments. And I'm like, I don't want to walk into church and know that it's happening. I just don't want to do it. I don't want to be a part of it. It's hard. And when I walked in, they had taken all of the banners she made and they hung them around church. Y'all, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. All her love, all the time that she would always say, I just pray if I won't do it and time would pass. And once again, this church was filled with people that loved her and loved us and wanted to be a part of that. And in that really ugly moment, in that really awful time, when I walked in and saw the banners everywhere, I went, oh, he gets it. Jesus knew that's what I needed today. When I just finally said, okay, I'm going to give it up to Jesus. I'm done. I'm going to give it up to Jesus. I walked in and all those banners just surrounded us with love. Never feel like you can't come. And I say here, wherever church is for you, right? Wherever that family is for you, you are always surrounded with that love. Jesus always wants you to come to the table because you are not stuck in that moment. The best is yet to come. There's always something more. So today I'm going to leave you with a little something. I'm going to give everybody their own fork. So you can leave your fork wherever it is you need to leave your fork. A lot of my students said they put them in their car. I have one by my bedside. And that no matter what's your moment, whether it's big or small, because sometimes the small stuff just adds up, right? The best is yet to come. There's so much better out there. Jesus says, you come and give it all to me. I want all of your trudge and gunk and yuck. The best is yet to come. He is going to be there waiting no matter what. Right? That's how family works. That's how we are as a community. We're always there. No matter how far away I went, no matter what else I was doing, this was always home. And it always will be for me. Know that the best is out there. You're not stuck in a moment. You're going to get through that moment, and something better is waiting.
Man, this has been a good night. It's been a real good night.
Come on, Jeff, you gotta say it again.
Wow.
Thank you, sir.
You know, we used to come to 10 o'clock mass all the time, but we started coming